Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Berger, Mark Novak, episode 498. Can you get a building approved within 14 days? What is the difference between private certification and going through council for certification or a council DA? I know a lot of people don't know the difference. A lot of people don't even know private certification either exists, either on the residential side of things, but it's also used when you want to open up a business in a property, when you want to build a new property, from doing a granny flat to a second story, change of use. So it's used for basically everything, either of those two options. So this morning, let's talk about when you can use one or the other and what are the benefits between using one or the other. Maybe start with a council approval, Mark, typically the time frame of that and what that is, and we'll go through what a private certification is, and then we'll give some examples.
All right, so you want to build you own a property, you want to do a new property there, say, or an extension, let's just say new property, granny flat. Now, normally the process used to be long and tedious, and you would only have the option to go through council. If council had long waits, bad luck for you. You had to wait. Then came along private certification, and private certification was where people with the same amount of experience, but maybe even more experience than what the council had the same amount of power as what the council had. So that's right, you heard it here. If you didn't already know, these private certifiers have the ability to give the same calibre of approval than what a council officer assessing your house plans would have. Furthermore, they could do it much, much quicker. And you may have heard the saying CDC. That's what it is.
Okay, just go into a little bit more detail on that council side of things, because where the council, obviously, we're talking about the council employees and everyone, they're always busy, long times. It's the perfect example of something run publicly and then privately. Because anything privately, if you don't impress your clients, if you don't do it fast enough, they just won't hire you, your business fails. But publicly, when you're only forced to use the public option, you can think of it as healthcare. They may say, we can only do that surgery in 6 months. You've got no recourse. It is what it is. And that's what council was. Like, if you wanted to talk about an idea going, will you allow me to do this? The response was basically, we can't give you any feedback. You got to put an application in. But the thing was, it's not as simple as put an application in and have a meeting. It's put an application in. You have up to a 42-day waiting period where you're guaranteed not to get a response. Then you get a meeting to discuss your application, which could be after 9 weeks, or it could be after 10 weeks, or it could be after 5. And then if they say, no, you can't do that, it's too close to the boundary, a lot of the time you can't just simply edit the application. You've got to resubmit. So it was a very painful process, which would typically take, especially on, let's say, a granny flat, it would take 5 to 9 months and a lot of headaches and a lot of stress.
Even if you wanted to pay extra to get some help or guidance, not from council, not possible.
Well, it's not like you could pay them more to speed it up. So what actually started to happen was people started hiring private companies to help them with their application, lodging it, because they knew if they basically screwed up, they wasted months because they're not going to get feedback. They're not going to be able to have a conversation. So you actually started naturally seeing the private sector form to help with the lodgements. And then I think then basically there was a big push to to take responsibility from council off their plate. To be honest, I don't know if the decision was to make it faster and in that genuine, or was it just to eliminate stress from councils? But at the end of the day, you make something private. So then the benefit of going private is you obviously, like anything, there's better operators, there's good and bad people in all jobs, and in the free market, you can figure that out. So now with a private application, you can call someone, meet with them, discuss planning, discuss what they can do. They may even have a better in-depth knowledge than council have with getting it approved. You can actually, instead of with council, you lodge the application and wait 2 months to hear back. Now with private applications, you can do 2 months of prep, have the application 100%, and then you can get it approved very quickly. So when you read that headline, can you get a building approved within 14 days? The answer is yes. 99% sure of that.
Crazy shit.
Because the time it takes is the application, is the documents. Yes, it may take a month to get all that ready, all the reports, but once you've finalized it, I've had a private certified tell me he can do it in a day with a change of use for a premises. I was like, how long will this take? And he goes, mate, if I got all the information, which could take a couple of weeks, I can tick it off straight away. I've got a checklist, and when we got all that info, it's done. So it is amazing that you've got that difference, which a lot of people wouldn't even go down the path of a council application because of the headache of it. But yeah, so yeah, that's
you know what? It's also like representation. I think when Ma and Pa, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or Ma and Pa Kettle are wanting to do a new home or an extension or a granny flat, it was almost like they were against the council, and there was no sort of guidance on that. So they were sort of trying to work like it was like, bah, you got this wrong, and then you fix that, and it was like, bah, you got this wrong. It's like, far out. A year goes by and you still haven't got an approval. The private certification thing or beauty about it was that person was batting for you. They were actually pulling out all of those backstops before they became backstops. So private certification has become a beautiful thing. You are hearing it in the media at the moment. They're stressing about it a little bit. But guys and girls, if you are watching, we are talking about private certification. If you've got when building a new property in New South Wales, if you've got any questions, make sure you're on the Novak channel when you make your comments, and they'll come up here live. But something I've got to mention, Michael, is how powerful this actually is. If I wanted to put, for instance, a structure in my backyard, like a 2-bedroom granny flat, it's a 200,000, 250,000 structure. If you go to a private certifier and you are complying with your structure, you've got the right setbacks, you've got the right block of land, which is, by the way, which is over 450 metres squared, the private certifier has a duty to inform the adjoining neighbours before they give you the approval. Even with that notice period, in about 14 days, they could give you the stamp that council would normally give you, and you can start building. You can start pouring your concrete slab and start building in a couple of weeks. That's how powerful private certification is. And CDC, what it actually stands for is a complying development consent. So if your development complies with what the council regulations are, there is no reason why the CDC can't be granted within 14 days. That's how powerful these private certifiers are. They read the law, they interpret it, they look at what you want to do, and they match it.
Yeah, and this is just great for everybody. It's great for the economy because it streamlines a lot of construction. It's great for the homeowners because you get to add value, add use, add an additional use, add income, all of that stuff. It's great even in the certification sector because you're creating more jobs that way. It's great because you take a lot of pressure off council, which I reckon would probably be one of their most hated departments because no one ever came out of that with a good experience. Everyone always came out of that pretty unhappy. So to basically make that shift is really good. Yes, you do sometimes hear of where people abuse it, where they certify stuff that shouldn't be, but that's life. That's everything. So
with doctors have the same. You've got public hospitals, you've got private hospitals, you've got private doctors that make mistakes.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, yes, you may only hear of the one bad one, but you don't hear of the 99% of good outcomes, happy people. So I know, and also so then there are still a lot of stuff that still has to go through council. So people then think, well, we don't want someone building a big building, doing it quickly.
There's a lot of stuff that's not complying. There's a lot of stuff where the client gets 99% of the proposed application right and fitting, and that will comply, and there's 1% wrong. An example of that is like your front setbacks. There may be a dispute as to is the front of, how far can I build up towards the front of my property? If you're complying, you're actually well within either side of the owner's front setback. If you're not complying and you want to try it on for size because you've got merits, because you're a corner block, or it's only a deck, or it's or there's been precedents being set, that's when you're going to go through council because it doesn't comply.
Yeah, exactly. And all the big developments, unit blocks still have to go through council. So there is a larger platform for people to issue their sort of reservations about it. A lot of the private certification was introduced for really your smaller stuff, which is a lot more your mum and dad stuff, like building a granny flat, opening up a small business. So I think a lot of people should really encourage that type of stuff to happen, because it's really on your mum and dad level, it really affects and helps. Because there was I think after Opal Towers, a lot of people were thinking about talking about getting rid of it, have it go back into government hands. But when you look at, imagine having to wait 9 months to open up a business in a property, or battle a year to do a granny flat, you just wouldn't do it. And that's what
councils that were blown out to a year and a half because there was a lot of building, or they had staff issues, or there was councils that went crazy over it. So it's the private certification, I think, has been a tremendous win for councils. And also, it's, don't forget that the ratepayers were actually paying for these applications that were failing, and these applications that were taking a long time. So it's actually outsourced that cost from council as well, made council more efficient in that process. In that process that taxpayers don't have to pay for.
Perfect.
Ratepayers.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add on to that?
It's a great day, and we're out and about showing properties today, only one-on-one. Yes, there have been a change on the restrictions by our friend Gladys due to our problem with not nailing COVID, but with property, we're certainly still showing. We're being very respectful, but these are roofs over people's heads. They need to move to rent their property. They need to move to buy their property, and we have to facilitate accommodation for people. So certainly one-on-one inspections today, guys. If you want to see your dream property, your one-on-one inspections are A-OK. And also, if you're thinking about selling your property at the moment, I think it's the perfect time to put your property on the market, because nobody is putting their property on the market, and there's a severe lack of stock. Furthermore, I think when the lockdowns are over, there's going to be an oversupply of stock for a short period. So sneak in now if you're considering selling. Talk to your real estate agent. List now.
Hi, Brett. Happy to do questions. If you got anything, put it in now. Otherwise, just message us and we can talk about it on Monday.
What do you want to know?
Yeah, give it a couple of seconds. But yeah, I think on Monday we'll go through those benefits or disadvantages of really looking of listing now, because it's July 9th was when it was going to end, so it's another week now. More than likely it'll probably be another week on top of that. So
the question?
Don't have it, hasn't come through, so we'll monitor it. DM later. Okay, all good. Alrighty, thank you everyone, speak soon.
Yeah. And we'll run a topic on it, Brett. So guys and girls who are watching, if you make sure on the Novak channel when you make your comment, but definitely we do get a lot of people asking. A lot of these topics are generated from people like inquisitive about what they want to know about different topics that they feel shy about asking maybe a real estate agent directly because they don't know. This is the perfect environment where we can DM us and run the topic on.
Perfect.